Look, to get into all the primary cities, so to add the primary cities here, we'll add Geelong, Newcastle, Central Coast, and Wollongong. These are all regions, so I can't break down different parts of them. Look, maybe in 5-10 years, Newcastle may be its own region, and probably even the Central Coast too, because they are growing a lot. Geelong is as well. But this is where they were all kind of at in July. So Geelong had broken the 6 o'clock mark, in my opinion. Newcastle it was very close to breaking the 6. Central Coast was already at the 5, and Wollongong was kind of still a bit lagging, the midpoint of its market, should I say, stabilisation phase. And you can see Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane and Perth there as well. But where we really are today is on an aggregated level. Just to go through the cities have already been, Sydney's obviously moved a little bit. I mean, Sydney's now really, I'd say, with right towards the back end of its sort of stabilisation phase. Melbourne's obviously past the 6 o'clock mark, as I said it would be. Brisbane's obviously getting towards the winner's curse phase, and Perth is already within its winner's curse phase, well within it now. But the big one I want to mention here is, of my other primary cities, is Geelong. And I said to a lot of people, things like this can happen. They can jump ship and move around quite a bit over the course of things. So Geelong was actually behind Melbourne in terms of the property clock beforehand, in terms of right at the 6 o'clock mark. And I mean, if you had a bought in July, and I do have clients who did, you got in at the absolute perfect moment. It was probably even more perfect at the start of the year, but you got in at the perfect moment before it really turned and you started to have all the people throwing unconditional, ridiculous offers at things. So for those people who did that, and I know some of you guys are watching, congratulations, you've made probably 5 to 10% within a couple of months, which is insane. But just look at where Geelong is today to give you an idea. So Geelong's actually now jumped Melbourne in terms of where it is in the property clock. So the reason for this is because I've had plenty of agents calling me, asking me what's been going on, just having a chat because I get along well with them. And they've asked me, what do you value at this? And they're telling me what they're selling for. So I had an agent a couple of weeks ago call me, and she was asking me, how you going, all that. And I said, oh, yeah, good. She goes, what would you value this place? And I said, look, 630, but I'll try to get it for around 620 because that's what my clients would pay me. And I want to at least make them their money back and get them a good deal. And she said, cool. And she asked me, what do you think is on it? And I said to her, I'm assuming it's gone above. And she goes, yes. We're at $750,000 and they're all 15 unconditional offers. Not a single person had even viewed the property or seen a walkthrough video of the property, and there was already 15 unconditional offers on the property. So that's what's starting to happen in Geelong. I mean, there's offers going everywhere. There's price guys getting smashed. So this is a general thing that's going on in Geelong. So it's definitely jumped it. That's what's changed in Geelong. Now, if you look at Newcastle even, I've got Newcastle just breaking the 6 o'clock mark. This has largely been led by a few, should I say, parts of the city, particularly Ward 1 and Ward 2 in Newcastle. So that's the inner city and west, and the inner city and beaches locations. I'll give you a good example. I mean, I was having clients last year I had two buying a particular street of Mayfield, one of the best, I call it the second best street of all of Mayfield. And they were picking them up for like under 900 grand, like 850 to 900 grand to give you an idea. And one sold that I'd argue was probably worse than it in terms of location. Maybe similar, maybe slightly better in the interior, but not much. Sold for more than 200,000 more than it. Then a week later, one sold for more than 300,000 more than it. So there's parts of the Newcastle that are definitely breaking that trend. They're probably even more into between the 6 and 7, but the general market definitely is by the 6 now. It's turned quite a bit, and there's more people coming back into the market. So that's where we're at. Look, to go into the Central Coast, I did previously say it was kind of close to the 5. It's probably between the 5 and 6 now. There are some that would be at the 6, no doubt, and those are the locations I've been mentioning, and they always pick up better because people know that. So the ones near the key corridors of the future and the key corridors now, so lifestyle and employment locations particularly, and transport, should I say, too. Those locations are done well, but the general market is, especially because of that, should I say, 5% deposit scheme, it has moved quite a bit. So that's kind of what's going on with the, should I say, Central Coast at the moment. I mean, there should be no surprises about that. But anyway, that's where we are. Probably getting close to the 6 o'clock mark. Look, to give it an idea, Wollongong has definitely moved as well. It's not no longer in its sort of early stabilisation phase. It's definitely moving towards the latter parts of the stabilisation phase. Particularly towards the south and Shell Harbour are going pretty well, and it's because of the affordability in the area and still quite a good lifestyle. But should I say middle and should I say blue chip suburbs are starting to turn as well. So that's kind of where we're at. I mean, they're definitely not booming, but they're definitely not going down. So they're doing fairly well. Good stock is still selling. So that's my overview basically for the, should I say, primary cities, the main ones I buy in terms of the property clock for the October, should I say, quarter, or July to September quarter, if you want to call it that. So that's where they're all kind of at the moment. Let's get into all cities in July. So this is where they're all kind of at, and I'm including the other cities. So that's Hobart, the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, and Adelaide. So you can see Hobart there was very much so at the beginning of its stabilisation phase, no doubt. Gold Coast and Sunny Coast were getting quite frothy towards the, should I say, winner's curse phase, and Adelaide was well within the winner's curse phase of the market. Now, let's just get into where they are today. I'll start with Hobart. Hobart's definitely still in the, I'd say, early to mid parts of its stabilisation phase. It has obviously moved along a little bit. There are parts selling reasonably well. There are other parts that are just pretty stable. So, I mean, for the majority of the market, it's still definitely early in it. I mean, it's past its downturn by probably six to 8 months now. So, that's where Hobart's really at. But if we get into, especially, I want to go back into both the Gold Coast and Sunny Coast. I'd say the Sunny Coast is in its winner's curse phase now. Again, like a lot of the other markets, I do expect it to do well for probably still the next 12 months or so, especially because of the schemes coming in. But I mean, the reason why the Gold Coast still, I've got a little bit more to go in the Gold Coast is simply because where the Gold Coast is at, it does have a little bit better demographics than the sunny coast, and also it has actually a little bit more limited supply in the key suburbs, particularly along the Gold Coast Highway and the beaches there, than the Sunny Coast. Sunshine Coast has quite a bit of supply coming in, particularly Caloundra West, and even if you go up towards Coolum and different areas, Perigian and all those sorts of areas as well. I mean, they've got a lot of stock still to come to market. So that's the reason why it's a little bit behind. Adelaide, I don't think anyone should be surprised about this. Adelaide's done like 120% growth, almost 110 to 120 in the last pretty much 5 or so years, maybe 5 to 6 years. I think Adelaide is absolutely pretty much almost at the absolute peak of the market. It can do 6 to 12 months more of growth, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it can't, but I mean, I'm pretty worried about it for a buyer buying in Adelaide because it is a market as well, similar to Perth, that can have stabilisation phases for a long period of time. So, as I said to everyone, it's not an area I'd be wanting to buy in. It is quite frothy and risky at the moment. So I'd be avoiding Adelaide at all costs, to be honest. But look, that's my overview basically of the property clock in, should I say, the market at the moment. That is our October property clock update.